I'm Marianne Lettieri, and I am the artist who has the show that just opened at the Fort Worth Community Arts Center called Please Don't Get the Wrong Impression.
Great. And I am Giovanni Valderas. I am the exhibitions manager at the Fort Worth Community Arts Center. And we are going to have a talk today.
Well, Art of Manliness is about 100 pounds of old tools.
It's really interesting conceptually. I see it as, the weight of all these tools and symbolizes a constant struggle of this idea to uphold like the patriarchal system that we find ourselves in. And
at first glance, you see old tools wrapped in red and they're hanging. But what I'm wondering is that as we look more closely, we start to see a visual metaphor that can engage our imagination. And there's conceptual underpinning for each of these works. So with Art of Manliness, the first thing we see is 100 pounds of old tools hanging, and they're wrapped in red fiber. But then I'll tell you, as you're reading the notes on the wall, that red fiber came from a rug that was hand loomed in India, painstakingly hand loomed. I then took the rug and unwound it. I unraveled each of those threads and then rewound it painstakingly around each of the tools. So there's a repetitive act here, which is similar to what happens in manual labor. So it's evoking acts of manual labor. The red has been wrapped in a way that they almost look like bandages, or even for those people who might be familiar with propagation graphs, how you would bind a root and a branch together, and they were wrapped up, and they kind of look like that. So I'm looking a lot about, the act of manual labor. Also that it's gender identity, which you were spot on with that. Do we identify tools as a manly thing? Because I use cutoff wheels and other things. But so that it's kind of looking at how we've our identity had been wrapped up in work. Our identity's wrapped up in these tools. But I'm also looking, if you get down in another layer, these are old discarded tools. Some of them are obsolete, and I'm questioning how we value manual labor. Do we value handwork anymore?
I think that brings us into your next piece. It's such a diverse field of objects. At least for me, you're forced to draw these relationships to these things. And so how do you go about doing that or visualizing that and then implementing it?
It's hundreds of red objects, but they're silly things. They're just stuff, Barbie dolls and little toys and paper clips. And then if you look a little bit closer, you'll see that there are roaches and snakes and worms commingling with the stuff of our lives. And so I'm really in this piece exploring sort of the evil, the sin. And there's a Bible verse, it's in Isaiah, that said it, and the Lord laid on him the iniquity of us all.
We should talk about, is it Rose Window?
Okay.
Let's talk about it.
So you first look at it and you see 100 red balls, right, in a round frame. And then you look closely and you see that each one of those is a well-worn pincushion. Some are even handmade. And then you think about the fabric that was worn away one pinprick at a time. I've taken them out of the drawer where they would have been, it's just this ordinary nothing thing. And I've put it into a Gothic cathedral rose window. It's a scheme of a rose window, which you would typically see in the front of a cathedral, and it signifies you're going into a sacred place. So to me, it's looking at that work, that undervalued work of those hundreds of women, thousands of hours represented by wearing away the fabric of those pincushions, has now been presented as a symbol of something special, something important.
Well, man, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for taking time chatting with us, and
Thank you.
Mhm.
It's a pleasure to be working with you.
All right. I'll see you soon.
Okay.
Okay.
Take care. Bye-bye.